Accountant? The journey starts here at Regent Business School. Our Bachelor of Commerce in Accounting degree is now officially endorsed by SAICA, the South African Institute for Chartered Accountants. With this prestigious qualification, you'll be on track to enroll in the SAICA-endorsed postgraduate diploma in accounting, take the board exams, and earn the elite title of Chartered Accountant, CASA. Register now for 2025 at regent.ac.za.
The views and opinions expressed by the guest and presenters of Radio Al Ansar are not necessarily the views and opinions of Radio Al Ansar and the Al Ansar Foundation.
It is your breakfast rush. Nishal Sarwan with Nasmira Kasim in studio. Now, a defense analyst has called for South African National Defense Force troops deployed in the Democratic Republic of Congo to be reassigned to border patrol duties within South Africa. Last week, 9 SANDF soldiers were killed in clashes with the rebels. 4 more soldiers from Malawi and Uruguay died the following day. Joining us this morning to give us some insight on these matters is Defence Web's Guy Martin. Guy Martin, good morning and welcome to the Breakfast Rush on Radio Al Ansar.
Good morning and thanks for having me.
South Africa has been criticised for its handling of the situation currently facing our troops, especially with the postponement of a meeting by the Portfolio Committee on Defence and Military Veterans to shed light on what's happening. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think the response by the government has been incredibly poor, not just in the wake of the deaths in the last week of 13 South African soldiers, but ever since the SAMI DRC mission was established and we started deploying troops at the beginning of last year to support this new SADC mission. From the very beginning, this mission was not adequately resourced, adequately equipped, and it was doomed to fail. Last year, we had a total of 10 of our soldiers dying, not all in combat, but where there were 10 deaths last year, and now 13 this year, which is the worst casualty rate since the Battle of Bangui in 2013. And one of the main reasons for this is that our troops have not been supplied with air power. So there are no Royal Falk attack helicopters, there are no Gripen fighters, they have no air support whatsoever. And this is one of the main reasons why they've fared so badly at the hands of M23 rebels. If you look back to 2013, when South Africa first deployed the Royal Falk to the UN mission in the DRC, MONUSCO, the Royal Falk, within the space of a week, was able to help bring the M23 to the negotiating table back then. So one must remember that this is not the first time that the M23 has taken Goma. They briefly captured the city in 2012 when they were at the height of the rebellion then. And now we've come full circle. The M23 have recaptured, it seems like almost all of Goma now, and they are also advancing south with other towns on the horizon. So this is far from over. The M23 are not content with just Goma, and they are heading into South Kivu province, Goma and Sake, where the most fighting has happened now. Those are in North Kivu.
Now, there seems to be conflicting reports on the SANDF's role in the DRC, with ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula publicly stating that SA troops are not in the DRC to fight. If possible, can you shed on SA's deployment to the DRC?
So South Africa has deployments with 2 missions in the DRC. One is the UN's MONUSCO mission, which is basically a peace enforcement operation, and then the SADC's SAMI DRC mission, which aims to combat and eliminate the scourge of rebel groups. So there is a bit of confusion as to what the roles and mandates of these two missions are. Is the misconception that the UN mission is purely peacekeeping, and that's not necessarily the case. As I said, it's got a peace enforcement mandate, which is quite an aggressive form of peacekeeping, meaning it can go out and actively ensure there's minimal conflict, whereas peacekeeping is just meant to maintain a peace. And I think this has been lost in translation, and some government ministers and spokesperson are battling to understand the sort of intricacies of each type of mission, deployment, and mandate. But the bottom line is that our soldiers, they are allowed to fight. They have been fighting, and that is well within their mandate to do so.
Indeed. Now, defense expert Dean Wingren has suggested that the SANDF was never well equipped and supported in the DRC. Besides what you've already mentioned, is there any truth to these concerns?
I would say that's absolutely true. Perhaps 10 years ago, the SANDF was fairly well equipped and supported. As I mentioned, in 2013, they had Rooivalk helicopters, and those did extremely well against the rebels back when they were available. But our Rooivalks haven't flown in the DRC for a couple of years, and they were recently returned home. And they're unserviceable at the moment. They're being refurbished. So this is in the face of increasing sophistication by the Rwandan-backed M23, who have been supplied with surface-to-air missiles, electronic warfare systems that have been jamming communications and GPS systems. They have guided mortars. They have drones. They have a very, very impressive arsenal compared to what they did 10, 15 years ago. Whereas the SANDF, they've been going backwards in terms of the equipment and support they've been receiving. One of the other key issues or factors that's missing is proper aerial support in terms of supply. So our transport aircraft, our Air Force's transport aircraft, they are basically all grounded, and South Africa is having to rely on chartered aircraft, which are extremely expensive. It's much harder to get things where they need to go quickly if you're using charters, and it comes at great cost. So our troops are severely hamstrung in terms of air power and logistics support in particular.
As a final question for this morning, do you think staying abreast with technological advances can assist the army?
Definitely. If there were certain technologies that could be used as force multipliers, that would help tremendously. So, for example, if we had mortar locating radars, or if we had counter rocket artillery and mortar systems, if we had large drones, if we had sent up even our stock of anti-tank missiles, if we had attack helicopters, then we would have, I don't think we would have fared as badly in the fighting. So yeah, there's a lot that could be done. And keep in mind that the SANDF does have some equipment like that in its stockpiles, but our local industry can supply almost everything that it needs. But the SANDF has been so badly underfunded and mismanaged that has not happened. When I say mismanaged, I'm not really directing criticism at the SANDF's leadership, but at the minister, the president, and cabinet for allowing the SANDF to be continuously underfunded and eroded while being overstretched and given job after job to do, whether it's in Mozambique, it's protecting the borders, or now in the DRC. It just cannot do so many tasks well. And we're seeing the wheels come off because the SANDF is just being completely overstretched, and it's unsustainable.
Thank you for your time this morning, and I want to wish you a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you. Have a good morning as well.
That was Defence Web editor Guy Martin speaking on the role of the South African National Defence Force troops in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and of course some of the challenges that they face at the moment with regard to stocks. I want to say stocks of weaponry, artillery. What they've got at their disposal. In that last question, when Guy was naming and listing what's available, what they do not have, how things work, and what's required, it got me thinking. And this is just like a side road off the topic there, really quickly. Gamers that are playing war games in South Africa have more stocks, it sounds like, than the actual army. Zach is smiling. So I got him on a microphone because I know he's one of those gamers in South Africa that play these games. And Zach, how many of the things that Guy had mentioned are familiar to you? The names. So he was talking guns. He was talking
MP5s,
MP5s,
your P90s. Yeah,
hey, he was talking aircraft,
yeah, but those are mainly in your campaign game.
Yeah, no, don't do that. See,
yeah, that's a
aging infrastructure.
So anyway,
not only in municipality, inside the studio as well. Yo,
it's sad though. It's frightening. You sending people with their lives, as the only shield, to protect other people, and then they lose their lives.
He spoke about a lot of things. I don't understand why don't we have adequate enough of air support. There's a lot involved in these kind of things. Because like I said, like you've mentioned, like I play these games. And your story mode games, which we call campaigns. You see that there's a way in how you do things. You prep. There's a tactical force. There's a defense.
What's the name of the game?
It's Call of Duty.
What's it?
Call of Duty.
Can we send a copy to our defense minister?
I have in-game experience.
You got and you can do a little bit of consultation for them as well. Because shame, man, how do we send our boys and girls from South Africa all the way to the other side of the continent to the DRC and say to them, here you go, here's a panga, go play.
And from experience in this field constantly, the sad part is when there's an investigation, firstly, the investigation is costing millions. Secondly, it's not bringing them back to their families. Thirdly, what is the result most of the time? We had the weapons and they were stolen. We don't know how they were stolen. Or on our file in writing, it's written that we've got 100 of X, but we can't account for them. But the money went elsewhere.
That's like the wide angle view of it.
A lot of
everything.
it, unfortunately.
So the helicopters apparently were sent back home because they needed maintenance and repair.
That should not be the case in the first place. Everything needs to be 100%
exactly.
operational.
These are lives. If you're not equipped to handle the situation, then don't go.
You are at war.
Don't go.
Oh, does that not ring up? You at war?
But that's the thing. And Guy touched on it a little bit. He said a little bit of maybe there's not so much of clarity and understanding of what our role is or what our SANDF's role is there. And clarity when it comes to understanding, not from the military point of view, but from the political point of view. So, again, it's putting the right people in place for the job. Anyway, it's 7:26. When we come back, we're telling you the latest from our set of Vodacom stores.
Your hits, your sound, your station, your TV.